And thank you so much for sparing some time on this Sunday afternoon here in India. And so it's good afternoon and good evening to everybody. There we have some people from Australia as well. So it's early evening for them. This webinar is part of a series that we as Mindcrafters would like to continue on the values for education. What do we educate for? As far as Mindcrafters are concerned, we work with STEM education, essentially in the area of with schools, grades 3 to grades 10. My name is Aditya Bhatnagar. I've been associated with schools now for the past 6-7 years, and I have absolutely loved teaching, love doing work with children. Today we examine an aspect of education which is not only of education but also of life. What should we value today which will last into the future? Howard Gardner's 5 Minds for the Future suggests 5 such values, or 5 minds if you will, which is based on academic research and on as well as on it's really the point of view of a psychologist, because Howard Gardner is actually a psychologist. So what are these 5 minds? So these 5 minds are 5 ways of thought, 5 ways of thinking, and they also incorporate 5 values which as educators probably we should hold dear to ourselves. The first is the disciplinary mind, which is about creating a depth in the understanding of a particular discipline or a particular profession. Second comes the creating mind, where you're trying to uncover new things, you're trying to make new things all the time, and you do need the skills or the depth of knowledge. You also need some amount of transdisciplinary knowledge, and that's where the synthesizing mind comes in, where you're able to synthesize matters from other disciplines and bear in mind that the boundaries between these disciplines are blurring, and they're blurring fast. Added to these 3 minds are 2 minds which are, one would almost call them as part of humanity, those of the respectful mind and the ethical mind. Now, world history is replete with examples of the grief that comes out of not being respectful of diversities and of either doing wrong or keeping quiet while something is going wrong. These minds get inculcated in various settings: at home, at play, household chores, at school, in poverty, while doing projects at school, and also despite disabilities. But the school plays a vital part. And why does it play a vital part? Because in Dr. Gardner's research, he's found that these minds need to be inculcated at an early age and right on through to early adolescence. So it is here that schools play a major part. And today we have with us 4 outstanding educators who are going to be sharing their experience with you on in the backdrop of these 5 minds. So before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping things. One is that if you have questions, just put them on the chat. We'd prefer that, and we are going to have some kind of a discussion at towards the end of the session, and you can address your questions to them to all the speakers at that time, or you can put them on chat and we'll kind of gather them together. So first up is Gauri Achanta, right here from Bengaluru. Gauri is a passionate educator teaching history for the past 35 years. Her classroom techniques can be a source of inspiration for many. Gauri has been teaching at St. Joseph's Boys High School, Bangalore, for the last 35 years. Her innovative teaching techniques bring the dullest of lessons to life. She has won state and national awards for her creative teaching and enjoys conducting innovative teaching workshops for teachers. At school, she is also involved in value education and in counseling. Learning Persian and traveling to historical sites are some of Gauri's favorite pastimes. Highly innovative and creative, she can bring history to life for even for a class of 50, which is what she's going to share with us. Gauri, all yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bhatnagar, for that introduction. And as he said, I've been teaching for 35 years. I joined straight out of college, and I'm still here all these years. And that is why it's teaching in a boys' school. That's answers for all the gray hair that I have. It's an all-boys school where I'm teaching. I've had the unique experience of having taught from the first batch. They were 12-year-old little boys, and now they're 47-year-old men. So I've had a unique experience of watching them grow, their whole lives go by. And incidentally, my little 12-year-old boys, when I first saw them, one of them has ended up becoming very, very famous, and that is Rahul Dravid. So from his batch of 47, 48-year-old men to today's 15-year-olds and everything in between, it's given me a huge perspective to see how our teaching and what we do in my school, has it made a kind of impact or not? And I'm going to share a little bit about that also with you. Um, I want to speak about, first of all, about the respectful and ethical mind. That's the first thing that I'd like to speak about. And I think that Howard Gardner's ethical and respectful mind that he speaks about, that's the one of the five minds which I'm going to focus. Why would I think that this is important? First of all, I feel that education has to serve the needs of society. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And today, if I look back in all my teaching career in the last, say, 10 to 15 years, one of the most important things is that there's so many divisive things which are happening in society. So many divisions by way of community, creed, religion, gender bias, so much is happening. So I feel that if we make progress in our country, but we are busy fighting within ourselves, or we are not respecting other people's choices and letting them be, then our progress as a country will not count for much. That's why I think it's very important to develop a respectful and ethical mind in our students. And I think all of us educators are probably already doing it without being conscious of it. I want to share with you two little things which we do in my school, where we try to develop respectful and an ethical mind. To begin with, one is that we have something called an inter-religious prayer service, and we have this once every 3 months. So we get together our students. There's a reading from each and every holy book. We have a speaker, and then we have a beautiful and meaningful prayer service. And I feel this has had a very, very big impact. Then we have another thing which we do. It's called Harmony Week. And during Harmony Week every year, we sensitize our children again to harmony with nature, harmony with other religions, with other communities, whatever, in every which way. We have it's just fun activities, not a serious competition. So it's things like, for example, we've had one activity where we ask our boys, I'm going to keep saying boys because that's all I teach, who I teach. We tell them to come up and recite sort of a holy verse from a holy book, which is not theirs. It is so nice to see our Jain boys coming and reading from the Holy Quran, and they'll make sure they've covered their hair. And then we have our Hindu fellows saying Bible verses, Muslim boys saying the Gayatri mantra. And then, of course, we make sure we give them a chocolate after that, because without edible incentives, our boys are not moving. But this is so nice, and it really sensitizes them, opens their kind of worldview to so many things. So has it all worked? This and so many other things which I won't have time to share. I think it's working because, as I said, I have a unique perspective of watching things across so many, many years. If I look at my old boys, my old students, whom we call our old boys, so many have married across religions, across caste, they have across regions of India, linguistic, outside. So many have business partners who are crossing all these barriers, unlike 2, 3 generations earlier. So I feel very confident that what we're doing is working. I want to share a very sweet little incident that occurred a couple of years ago. So I was invited to one of my old students' wedding. He's Christian, so I went to the church. I was a bit late, so I was sitting at the back, and the wedding ceremony had begun. And when it got over, they started, the bride and groom came out. And in Christian weddings, behind the bride are the girls with her, the bridesmaids. And behind the groom are what are called best men, usually some brothers, cousins, and from that family. And as they came closer and they were leaving the church, I was quite surprised to see that the two best men were my students' two best friends from school, boys whom I had taught. And one was Hindu, one was Muslim. It really was like an Omar Akbar Anthony kind of a scene. And so much later, I asked my student, how come? I mean, usually it's a family member who's a best man. How come? He said, teacher, I sat with these two fellows in the last bench throughout my life. They are my best friends. And on my wedding day, I definitely going to have them on my side. Now, this was so heartwarming for me. Somebody may say, oh, there's a one-off thing, but I believe in the power of one. Even one child we sent out of our schools with a secular feeling, with somebody who is respective of other choices and puts that aside to go forward in the country, I think it means a lot. It's a very, very important thing. Coming to my subject, many subjects give you a scope to develop a respectful and ethical mind, but particularly I will talk about history and what I do. So last year we had, in October, we had a little project that my history boys took up. We teach the freedom movement in our 9th and 10th standard. We follow an ICSE pattern in our school. So while teaching the freedom movement, I took up a little project with them, and I'll share my screen and show you. We actually made a 15-minute video, which obviously I'm not sharing, and I'll just take an excerpt from it. So just give me a moment while I share my screen and tell you more about this project. I'll just go to full screen, and Vandana, could you just tell me if it's sharing, please?
Yes, ma'am, it is there.
It's working.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, so this was, as you can see, this project wasn't done to develop a respectful and ethical mind. That's not what I had in mind, but we do all this subconsciously, so to say. And there were lessons I definitely had at the back of my mind, and this is what we did. So this was done by 9th and 10th standard boys. And we were trying to see what connection did Bangalore have. Now remember, 73 years ago, Bangalore was a small, sleepy town. We were very prosperous. We had no kind of violence. We were safe. We were secure, enjoying our beautiful weather. And all the massacre that took place in North India did not touch us. We were far, far away from that. So this project was to see what did we do? What were we doing there at this point of time? Did it in any which way were we connected? This was the project. So it included research, interviews, visits, and an exhibition. This exhibition was really something very nice. We created a refugee train and so on. I can't share all that here. So this was what we did. So I took my boys to a Gurudwara. We have only one in Bangalore. And my boys were very surprised that they had to cover their heads. In South India, even we women don't cover our heads when we go to temples and so on. So they were so happy to, respect that tradition, respect of how to do for another religion. And this is Mr. Pritipal Singh Walia. He was 11 years old when he sat on a bullock cart, and for 3 days he had to flee Pakistan to come to India. He's in his 80s, standing up straight and firm, and he recounted everything to them. They were utterly fascinated and quite taken aback at how he came from Pakistan to erstwhile Pakistan, so to say, to Bangalore. This was the journey we're tracing, Bangalore and the partition. You can see this little boy here. He is Saket Asrani. He is Sindhi. We found that his grandmother, Mrs. Asrani, was a teenage girl when she fled Sindh for Bangalore. So that was another interview we did, and my boys were so surprised. There is huge respect now among my students for Sindhis and Punjabis. We people from Karnataka, Kannadikas, as I am too, we are zero at taking risks and taking no sense of adventure. You will not find a Kannadiga going and living in Rajasthan or Punjab or something. We don't go more than 2 kilometers from our house. So for my South Indian boys, to find that they had left everything and started life was astonishing. Now, I'm always very particular. For me, respect means knowing another side. And we wanted to know, say, quiet, wonderful Bangalore, who would go to Pakistan? Now, this was very, very difficult for me to do. I tried to contact families in Pakistan, which had come from Bangalore. And we actually managed to contact. You can see it over here. And the lady called Shamail Ansari, she told me about her mother. So this was her mother, Hajra Shameen. And this is in Bangalore. She and her little brother, this was the time of partition, she was a little older than this, and they were very much here from Bangalore. Then her family decided to migrate, and I'll tell you why. So when they went there, she lived all her life, and I think she missed, she always told her daughter, I miss idlis and dosas. That's something she missed. So why did they go? They were a very prosperous business family. And they felt this is our chance. Maybe we're going to have a better prospect there. So they left. So my lesson for my boys was respect the choices. Respect means not only what we did is right, everybody has a choice of doing what they wanted. So, okay, what did we do in Bangalore? We were sitting safe when the people were getting massacred in the north. We did, we went to the archives. Our Karnataka was called Mysore State. And we were so happy to find that we formed a refugee committee. You can see the numbers there. 5,000 Sindhis, 1,200 Punjabis we took in Northwest Frontier Province, Dharamshala. So much was done from our state, as much as we could. We also had, you can see over here, the housing that we provided, the exemption, sewing machines, actually spoke to some people. Now, this was a lesson for my boys, ethical behavior. Today, look at Syria, the refugees there trying to get into Europe and not being allowed to come in. So ethically, we in the Mysore Kingdom, and today Mysore State, Karnataka, as we call it today, we did the right thing, ethically the right thing when people came to us for refuge to help them. Then there was something, a hidden story which isn't talked about. What happened to the Muslim families which did not leave Bangalore? As I said, once again, the context was very different from North India. They were safe and they're usually business families. And nobody was willing to speak. So it was with great difficulty that I met Mrs. Najma Sadiq. Now, Mrs. Najma was in her early teens. She's in the 80s. She looks gloriously younger compared to that now. And her father found that his brothers, or the uncles, they said, we are going to Pakistan. They're a very, very prosperous business family. Nothing, there was no danger for them. Her father said, nothing doing. We are going to stay here. We are not moving from Bangalore. This is our homeland. This is our land, and we are going to stay here. With much difficulty again, I was able to meet Mr. Mir Sajjad Hussain. His father, Mr. Mir Iqbal Hussain, was the Chief Justice of our Mysore Kingdom, another prosperous, well-to-do family. And exactly the same story. So his father found all the brothers in a family meeting saying, we're going to Pakistan. His father said, no, this is our land. This is our Karam Bhumi, that's the word he used. And he said, we are staying here. We are not going anywhere. So they stayed on. And this lesson for my students was this. Look at the way the family split. Both Mrs. Najma and Mr. Mir Sajjad told me that they started losing contact with those uncles, aunts, cousins, everyone who left. And they said it was so painful for the families to split. And they had a difficult choice, and their fathers were brave enough to make that choice. You know, very often when Muslims are faced with having to prove patriotism, all kinds of slurs are put. I tell my boys in my class, you Hindus, the Jains, the Christians, your grandfathers who were in Bangalore had no choice. They didn't have to make a decision. They were safe. But look at these families. Did we know that there were families like this which had to make a choice? And look at those who stayed behind. They were taking a risk. And they decided, whatever happens, this is our land, this is our motherland. In fact, when you in the video, Mir Sajjad Hussain ends with the lines, he says, this is my glorious motherland. So I say never, ever put that question of patriotism to these families. Respect to me is a balanced view. That's very important. Okay, you don't agree with somebody else, fine. But understand that there is always another point of view. So when I teach in 10th standard, when I teach the partition of India or anything, I make sure I read from the book about Gandhiji. I make sure I read about Jinnah's book. And my textbook. I obviously have to read passages from here, but I have something very interesting with me. I have a Pakistani high school textbook. So what I do is, I read a Dandi March from here and a Dandi March from their book. I read Jallianwala Bagh Massacre from here and from here. I read the Quit India movement from here and here. And you know what? It's absolutely opposite versions, completely different versions. So my students are stunned. Sir, teacher, where's the truth? So I said, moral of the story, don't believe your textbook, because there are so many versions, so many things happen in the world, and I don't want you to ever think that just what we are doing or just what we think is the right thing. It just isn't that. There's always another way of looking at things, and there's always a balanced perspective. So I feel that whenever it is to do with any of our views when we develop in school, whether the small ones, and we say respect the others, don't tease somebody who's got a stammer or wearing glasses or his color of his skin or his plump. From there, showing respect, or the ethical decisions, whether it's in cheating in exams or not, or bigger ones through our lessons, as we would do, as I showed you, these are all having a deep impact on our children. And I'm sure all the teachers listening on here and parents as well, I'm sure every one of us is already doing it. And I think, therefore, developing an ethical and a respectful mind is going to go a great way, a long way in building a better India. I conclude with that. Thank you. And over to the others. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Gauri. Wonderful. Uh, Next, we have Michael Belhards, all the way from Sydney. Michael is a teacher and ICT integrator at the Knox Grammar School, Sydney. Michael works closely with teachers, integrating technology into the curriculum. He has a passion for creativity, innovation, and global learning in schools, and is particularly interested in immersive learning environments, namely virtual reality, and the role they can play in teaching and learning. Michael is a Google certified teacher and has presented at conferences both overseas and throughout Australia. He has worked in various international, independent, and government schools in his 20 years of teaching. Michael, all yours.
Michael, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, you need to unmute.
Okay. Now
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah, absolutely. There you are.
So, yeah, thank you. I've called my presentation Cultivating a Balanced Mind. And the reason I've looked at it from this point of view is what the project that I want to look at is what we call a integrated learning task or a transdisciplinary task. And I'd like to go through that concept and how that worked with you. Okay. I really have, or deep learning really resonates with me in regards to the idea of synthesizing information today with our students. We live in a different world today. There are all sorts of changes that are occurring right now, and they're changing our relationships with each other, with ourselves, with our friends, with our planet, and within the universe that we live in. But because of these changing circumstances, I think it also provides us with an avenue of trying to look at being able to do things in a bit of a different way and taking on these challenges. Our students are faced with a lot of challenges these days. Obviously, there's COVID, and that's changed the way we do things both at school and at home. But they're also very aware of other things like global warming, food shortages, wars, and ocean depletion over time as well. Hugh and Lee refer to what they call the experience age. And what they mean by the experience age is that students today are able to follow a lot of what's going on in the world, and actually about 95% of them do that through video. Their friends are sharing videos through Facebook, through Instagram, through Snapchat, and they're able to follow what's going on in the world in a much closer way than we've ever been able to. Because of that, the concept of student voice, I believe, has started to really permeate itself. And we've really noticed that at Knox Grammar. Student voice within a school is very important. It gives the students an opportunity to be a part of the school, tell the school what they believe is important to them, and have a little bit of an insight and a bit of a say into what's happening curriculum-wise within the school. And we've noticed lately that at Knox Grammar, due to, within our co-curricular system, a lot of boys have been moving away from the normal co-curriculars of sports and music and those sorts of activities into more authentic activities where they're able to look at synthesizing, as Gardner puts it, the information that they understand about the world and try to be part of a club that's having an authentic impact in the world. So clubs like our Artificial Intelligence Club, our Robotics Club, our Ethics and Culture Clubs, our Environmental and Sustainability Clubs, our Future Problem Solver Clubs, and our Virtual Reality Clubs are getting a lot more students involved in them today. And so what we're trying to do with that is also bring that into our curriculum. So if we look at what a transdisciplinary task is, it's an approach to curriculum integration which dissolves the boundaries between conventional disciplines. And this is where it fits nice and neatly into Gardner's 5 minds and his mind of the synthesizing mind. The types of things that we're trying to do is we're trying to move away from that 19th century framework of teaching, which is a lot of schools are still embedded into, and more into a 21st century skill-based set that Gardner talks about within his 5 minds, and that we also find Michael Fullan, who is somebody that we follow very closely with his 6 C's, also establishes. It doesn't mean that we throw away the idea of the sage on the stage. It's still really important for our teachers to teach the content that they're teaching. You can't synthesize content unless you have a very firm grounding in the subject or the subjects that you're trying to pull in together in order to complete a task. Michael Fullan's 6 C's of collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, character, and citizenship also, I think, fit really nicely into those 5 C's that Gardner talks about in there. So what did we actually do in order for this to come together? Whoops, I'll go back one. Well, what we did is we actually sent our students to Mars. We used a program called Mindcraft in order to build our own server. We built a Mars server within Minecraft, and we sent all of our Year 8 students off on a transdisciplinary task to Mars. Now, for those of you who are not sure or haven't heard of Minecraft before, I'm sure most of you have, the best way to explain Minecraft is that it's Legos really inside a computer. But the great thing about Minecraft is that you're able to build and develop all sorts of creative things within the platform. It has things like redstone, and redstone is like circuitry. And so you can build switches, you can build buttons, you can build doors, you can actually build a mini computer inside Minecraft and it'll actually work. You've also got command blocks, which you're able to code. And if you look at the lunar rover over here on the right-hand side, that was actually able to be coded to be driven around on the lunar surface. So what we did was, in conjunction with the use of Minecraft, we developed a website, so our Year 8 Mission to Mars website, which provided a scaffold for all of our students. From there, they were able to look at the mission checklist, the timeline, the resources, past examples, and other challenges that we asked them to do. On top of that, however, before or leading into this project, different faculty areas taught specific content in relation to this task. So for example, at that stage, Year 8, we're doing area. In science, they were looking at how to grow food. And they actually did an experiment where they took apart a plastic Coke bottle and they placed a plant inside of that, and they grew it within that environment. They also looked at energy. Within geography, they looked at desalination plants and waste plants, and they also looked at where one could build, depending on topography, where would be the best place to build if you were landing, for example, on a new planet. And in languages, they looked at different cultures and different people. How do you come together and how do you live in a new environment for possibly 5, 10, the rest of your life when you were dealing with people from different cultures and different areas. So our boys had to synthesize all that information and work in groups of 4 to develop their mission statements and develop a sustainable Mars colony and build their designs within Minecraft. As part of this, we also brought NASA on board. So NASA zoomed in from Houston and they spoke to us, or to our students, about deep space. They spoke to us about how they are looking at planets and researching what different planets within the solar system are doing. They talked to our students about how they're going to send missions to the moon and missions to Mars, and the types of spacecraft and the types of vehicles that they are developing in order for that to actually happen. So that became another way or another part of the synthesis that our students were able to bring together into this project to work in teams towards building their sustainable colony. So this little slide sort of gives an overview of the different areas that filled up this project. There was collaboration within that project. Students weren't necessarily in the same classroom when they were working in this. It broke down the four walls of the classroom. They were in different parts of the school, but when they were allowed to work on this project during school time, they needed to use their laptops, they needed to use communication tools to be able to communicate, even though they weren't sitting in the same room. It was multidisciplined. That synthesis part of the project came in under this guise here. So maths, science, wisdom, life and faith, geography and languages, as I mentioned before, all did specific teaching that the boys then had to bring together and synthesize in order to be able to complete the project. It was creative. There was an ethical side to it. Our project has slightly moved on since we first started for it, and we now have a respecting past cultures part of it. It was authentic because we will be going to the moon, or we will be going to Mars at sometime in the future. And it was innovative, and most of all, it was actually really fun for the students. So the students had to actually synthesize the knowledge that they had gained from various areas. The project had to be handed in via a video. And on their sustainable or in their sustainable environment, they had to build how they were going to get their energy. So they had to showcase or build within Minecraft where their energy was coming from. They had to build how they were going to be able to process water. They had to build something that showed how they were going to get oxygen and live in an environment with no atmosphere. They had to show how they were going to maintain and develop food, how they were going to live together. They're living in a small space with a different community. How are they going to, what do they need to build in order to be able to live in that kind of environment? They had to consider previous knowledge, and they had to break the language barrier. So our boys had to synthesize knowledge from lots of different areas in order to be able to bring this concept together. As I said, they had to provide us with a video, and they had to talk to these points. And what was interesting, what was good, is that they didn't actually have to get it right. The idea was to get them to actually work through the process. If the science wasn't quite right, or if what they showcased to us wasn't quite workable, they'd still gone through the process. And that's going to lead them into a really good space moving further on through their schooling and further on when they leave school altogether and they're working in a workforce in the 21st century. So I'm going to leave it at there, and I'm going to pass it on to our next speaker. Thank you.
Okay, great presentation, Michael. And, you know, we'll be probably a lot of people have questions on what you have been doing. Very interesting indeed. We next have Monica Jaiswal. She is presently teaching at Ratnagiri, the place famous for mangoes. So Monica Jaiswal is a passionate educator and principal of the Sarvankash Vidya Mandir, a progressive school in Ratnagiri. Her career spanning more than 20 years, Monica advocates child-centric education and has developed interesting techniques and classroom methods to create an inspired team of teachers and students. Her core belief is every child can learn if we teach in the right manner. Her forte lies in early years and theme-based integrated learning methodology. She has conducted various training sessions in schools led by her on various topics such as child psychology, school best practices, and understanding the national curriculum framework. All yours, Monica.
Good afternoon, everyone, and namaste. First of all, I would like to thank Aditya sir for inviting me to this forum of learners and educators. And as the previous two speakers have already spoken, I would like to say listening to Gauri and Michael was very insightful. Both of them have actually showed us how very naturally they have been incorporating lessons from Mr. Gardner's book into their methods of teaching, the respectful, the ethical, and the synthesizing mind. Let me share my screen in a minute before I move forward.
It is there.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, when we talk about our education system, it greatly values disciplined mind and a disciplined body. But what exactly is a disciplined mind? We actually form a lot of images with words, and one such word is discipline. So I would like to ask all my co-panelists and the participants if in one word they can just comment in the chat box, what comes to your mind when you think of the word discipline. Or I would request all those who are here as co-panelists, they can unmute and tell about what a disciplined mind means to them actually.
Okay, Monica, ma'am, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
Or anyone else, you can.
Gauri, Monica, Michael, Aditya sir.
Okay, I'm getting replies: organized, punctual, and methodical, focusing
Empowering.
to accomplish a task, self-control, standing in line, following rules. Uh,
Concentration.
Great, great. So when I
Empowering,
also see
doing
focusing.
also
right things,
a few of my
focus,
colleagues and a few of my friends, these are the kind of answers what I got.
organizational thought, a well-behaved classroom, and organized, organized, punctual self-control, concentration, doing things in manner set right or whatever.
So when I asked a few of my friends and colleagues, I got this as the answer: self-control, obedience, forced, imposed, compliance, punishment. Okay, so I thought, yes, people have different views about what is a disciplined mind and what is not a disciplined mind. So let me basically, many of you have really given the correct answer, but it is certainly not about compliance and obeying without a rationale. The do as I say approach, which we feel is, if we listen to somebody and follow, it's being disciplined. It is also not about, asserting mastery without a decade or so of practice. Like we say, jack of all and master of none. So if you want to do mastery, you need to devote time. Following rigidly the procedures without a sense of purpose, even that is not a disciplined mind. So, but then what is a disciplined mind? It is employing ways of thinking which are associated when we talk about the formal education and school. It is associated with the various major scholarly discipline like history, like maths, science, and arts. Being capable of applying oneself diligently and improving steadily, regularly, and continuing beyond formal education also. As Michael spoke about the transdisciplinary or the interdisciplinary approach, why can't we combine history with languages? Why can't we combine science with sports and maths with arts? So these commonalities and these intersecting points also need to be understood when we talk about this. But why we are not able to do, there is a reason behind it. And all of us have been actually conditioned in our attitudes and thinking. From the time a child is born, he or she is influenced by the kind of parenting he or she receives, the kind of education one receives, and also the social interaction they have when they're in society. Nowadays, I think social media plays the biggest factor in conditioning our mind. So the big question is, how can we inculcate or cultivate this disciplined mind in the generation next? That is important to understand and ask ourselves that question. There are factors which will help inculcate disciplined mind in a child if you understand, because a child is not a child, in isolation. The home influence is there, the community's influence is there, the school's influence is there. All those things are there, and when I was reading this book, there was this very nice mention of the Reggio Emilia town in Italy. And after the Second World War, when they were trying to build and rebuild their society, one question which they asked to themselves, their citizens, that what type of future citizens we want to raise in our society, and how do we plan to achieve this on a wider scale. So they also got to understand that schools, parents, friends, neighbors, all are influencers and play a very crucial role in upbringing the child. And similarly, when we talk about the role of educators and policymakers, we need to design, our curriculums which promotes way of thinking associated with this majorly scholarly disciplines, which we called as various subjects in school, as I had already mentioned about the history, maths, art, and science, and giving students enough time to gain mastery in the field of their choice. Now the National Education Policy 2020, which is again coming into force, is to be implemented right now. It's just been, presented and approved also. Talks about from grade 6 also, we can ask child to choose a particular discipline and in which they want to gain mastery. So I think that's the right time. Apart from that, I think it's very important to understand and value the concept of less is more. Often when we talk about curriculum and syllabus, we often are stick to quantity over quality and length and breadth of the curriculum over the depth. So I think the depth is more important than the length and breadth of the curriculum, so that we need to understand. And also allowing multiple solutions rather than focusing on one correct answer. Even if child is following or solving a problem in maths, the method is not important. There can be various ways of achieving the same answer, but we only tend to teach in methods, this particular method or that particular method. So that should not happen. And the training of disciplined mind needs to start once the child attains the basic literacy, the basic numeracy. As mentioned by Mr. Gardner, the ideal time to begin is before adolescence. So that is there. Now, nurturing the disciplined mind inside the classroom, I think pedagogues, facilitators, and mentors play a very, very crucial role here. They are the first and the direct contact between the learners and the curriculum. And hence, it is very important for them to develop the learning strategies which nurtures and promotes disciplined thinking. They need to design their lesson plans and assignments which lead to diving deeper in their subject areas rather than just completing the syllabus. Connecting subjects, like even Michael mentioned, that we need to connect subjects with real life problems and real life solutions. Otherwise, what we tend to do is, we often tend to focus only on assessments, and that too, the basic purpose, if I talk about assessment, is which focuses on identifying the gap between the concept delivered and understood and then taking the corrective measures. But mostly our focus is just on grades, marks, and percentiles, and that is what we like to display in our board results also when we get this. Another very crucial role is being played by the parents. So dear parents, as many of you have joined here as parents and educators, one thing we all need to understand is your child should not be bound by your unfulfilled dreams. Your child is not a trophy also to be displayed. At times we just, because we want to talk very high about the achievements of our children, that's why we want them to do better. So we need to be beware of what I call is the rat race and the prevalent cutthroat competition. I think what matters is the right exposure, the right environment, the right encouragement. That is the key which we need to understand. And along with this, we also need to understand that life is not only about science and maths. So if a child has scored above 80, 85, then there is, this child can either take maths or either take take science, or either become engineer or a doctor. So there are many scopes and mastery in various fields which one needs to understand. And somewhere, as we, of course, we get influenced by in the society where we live. but we need to avoid participating in the fake or the pseudo social status, which is like, it's like a net. You get into it, then you'll fall into the prey and you'll never be able to get free from that. So one needs to be very mindful of that also. Your children, as I feel, are not your children are very precious individuals, and you need to respect their identity. You need to trust them, you need to talk to them, you need to empathize with their feelings and emotions, which is very important. That is where I feel. Just a minute. And last but not the least, the learners themselves.
Yeah.
The role of learners is very important, again, to understand. See, if some students are there, dear students, in general, it's important to acquire the basic skills such as language, numeracy, and that too at a certain age, appropriate age. But at the same time, you also need to identify your passion, your area of interest, and choose wisely amidst the vast ocean of possibilities which you have. And once you have chosen that, I think staying focused is very important. When you are digging deeper, you need to learn to ask the right types of questions, be a keen observer, finding opportunities in challenges. And at this age, at times, it becomes very difficult to keep control on our emotions. And we get carried away, we have mood swings, highs and lows. So I think keeping an emotional balance, because all of us know that extreme of everything is bad. So that has to be understood by everyone. Learn to share your feelings with the right people at the right time. So children need to open up to their parents, to their peers, or their teachers for that matter, because see, all of us know that learning is a lifelong process, and one failure doesn't stop life. I mean, it's like a never ever give up attitude which we need to follow. So this is what I feel is important from the point of view of an educator, and we all need to understand this. Aditya sir and all my co-panelists, thank you once again for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monica. That was really insightful. And believe it or not, we have another Monica with us, Monica Chawla. Monica Chawla is a leader in creativity in education, inspiring creative ways of teaching and redesigning pedagogies is her passion. As principal of St. Joseph School, Chandigarh, she heads a team of more than 150 teachers. She's a source of inspiration, devising new methods not only of teaching, but of celebrating events, creating values of empathy, and sharing and reaching out to the less fortunate. She is much awarded and has been a resource person for teaching pedagogies at various fora. Over to you, Monica, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity to come on this platform. It was really a great honor, sir. And thanks to all the panelists. I would appreciate what all insights you have given, and it was a great learning for me as well. So really grateful to you. And now I would like to share my screen. Would like to say a few lines because my topic is creating mind. So I hope you all know that, whenever something is given a beautiful cover, it touches the heart deeper. So, somebody asked a teacher, what do you do? And the answer was in Hindi, and I'm going to speak those few lines. सुंदर सुर सजाने के साज बनाता हूँ, सुंदर सुर सजाने के साज बनाता हूँ, नौसिखिए परिंदों को बाज बनाता हूँ, चुपचाप सुनता हूँ शिकायतें सबकी, चुपचाप सुनता हूँ शिकायतें सबकी, फिर दुनिया को बदलने के रिवाज बनाता हूँ। बनाए चाहे चांद पे कोई बुर्जे खलीफा, बनाए चाहे चांद पे कोई बुर्जे खलीफा, अरे मैं तो कच्ची ईंटों से ही ताज बनाता हूँ। नजूमी जोत छी छोड़ दो तारों को तकना तुम, नजूमी जोत छी छोड़ दो तारों को तकना तुम, क्योंकि है जो आने वाला कल उसे मैं आज बनाता हूँ, उसे मैं आज बनाता हूँ. So that is in high appreciation of all the teachers, all the teaching fraternity over here. And I strongly believe that the one who has written these lines, so that is a creating mind, and it really highlights the role of teachers. And I would like to speak for Michael sir in English, that it speaks about the importance of educators. They can find solutions to any problem in this world, and they can change the very perspective, and they have phenomenal energy and capacities, and they can really give a new shape to the world around. So that is what it meant, sir. So starting with my presentation, how to nurture creating minds at school. So I would just like to go for the slideshow. Enabling environments which mobilizes focus, attention, curiosity, and energy of children. So that makes FACE, F-A-C-E. So enabling environments, if provided in a school that is using creativity around us, we can really mobilize the focus of the students, the attention of the students, the curiosity and the energy. And this is what Sir Howard Gardner believes in. Moving to the next. This talks about goal of education. The goal of education is to help the people use minds better. And when they use minds better, of course, they'll develop all these 5 kinds of minds better. So like a farmer sowing seeds, someone creates conditions for children to grow as a creative thinker. Because a farmer is sowing the seed, he'll take care of the needs of that seed, how it can grow better. Similarly, we teachers can also, create an environment, create conditions which can help the growth or development of creating mind. Assessing and rewarding creativity is an amazing method of developing the creating mind. If we are ignoring small creativities, that means we are snubbing them. We are not letting them sprout. So we need to allow them to sprout. So we have to ensure that we are assessing every creative act of the child, and we are also rewarding them from time to time. So what are the 3 to-dos for us, for all educators? We need to have open-ended questions. Let's not have rigid answered questions or close-ended questions where there is just one answer to a question. So when Sir Howard Gardner was asked that what is the best way of, developing these creating minds, he said, I know how we can stop it by proving a child wrong, that this answer is not right. It is not as per what I dictated in the class. So that is how we can stop the creativity. Rest all the ways are going to help promote creativity. Allowing some mistakes. Let's give room for mistakes. They are children. They are going to try different methods. If we try to be very strict with them, I think they'll not try the methods. So we need to allow mistakes. And sensible risk taking is also a very good method of ensuring. Then here, Sir has given in through his book a very good exposure of a fact that there is a big C creativity and there is a small c creativity. And big C creativity is the one which is acknowledged by the world and has been crowned by fame. And small c creativity is one which is happening in our classes. So where, the children, they are able to solve their daily problems. So that is a small c, which is growing in our classrooms. And when they try to learn ways of improvising their performance by, using mind maps or some other method where they can understand better, they can reproduce better, then they monitor their performance and they make small adjustments. So this is also a way of developing their creating mind. Then devise and demonstrate an ingenious work around. So when they are trying to find out solutions to the problems existing around, that's also a wonderful method. And then we come to thinking of creative solutions becomes a habit of mind, and then it becomes a personality trait. So this is what we need to remember. And ma'am, here even I was very impressed, though it was in the category of respecting mind and ethical mind, the northern province of Italy, that is Reggio Emilia. And I would request all the educators to please search through the Reggio Emilia approach of pre-primary and primary education. That is eye-opening concept. These are the pics of the raw material they use in their classrooms, and it's quite inspiring. You feel like, flying direct to these classes and, bring your children and do wonders. So creating minds enable us crafting miracles. They help us celebrating different kinds of minds. They give us courage for mistakes, and they create magic. And above all, they also help us. Just a minute. They also help us carving out marbles. So that's very important for us to ensure that we are trying to create minds which are helping us to do so much of magic in our classrooms and creating so many marvels. So now coming to another view for all the participants, that this is the kind of infra they use when they are teaching their children in the classrooms. So it's very inspiring, quite attractive, and they believe that environment is the third teacher, and they believe that teachers are the co-researchers with the children. And they believe in projects, in research, and in observations and anecdotes. So coming to creative ideas which we can use in our classrooms, I believe you all will agree that for every educator, the biggest problem is discipline. So I'm just going to talk a little about discipline here. So whenever I try to talk to educators, they say, how can we control the discipline? How can we improve the classroom management? So here is a method. We can develop a currency in our class. We can name it discipline dollar or any other name we can give, and let the children come up with their wish list. What do they want? When they are asked, we can ask our children to give 5 wish list what they would love to do within the boundaries of the school, what privileges they would like to enjoy. They would like to sit next to their friend for the whole day. They would like to have a lunch with their teacher. They would like to interview their director, or they would like to have an extra PT period or exemption from the homework. Many wishes they'll have. So let us ask them to prepare a wish list, and then let us add some value to each wish list. Maybe sitting with your friend, you need to earn $4, 4 discipline dollars. And trying to get a call made to your parents for appreciating you, you need to earn 6 discipline dollars. So the child would love to earn those dollars and would definitely obey the teachers. And this is something which will help them develop their mathematical skills. And they'll learn empathy, they'll learn transformation, they'll learn how to groom their personality and be a better individual, and how to be good in the eyes of the teachers and all the elders. So it's something which is quite exciting for them, and it really works wonders. So reward list, a teacher can always shortlist as per her priority, and she can get these discipline dollars laminated and can start circulating it in the class. This is something which is quite effective. Coming to Green Campus Anthem. Now here is a story. Most of the times the schools are sent lot many circulars from different departments, to do this and that in the school campus. So there was another circular from the environment department which demanded some to-dos to be done by all the schools and activities by the students and certain infra requirements and certain Swachhata campaigns. So when I received this circular, instead of passing it to, the teacher, first I thought, let me give it to, Eco Club in charge, and then we'll sit together and have a meeting and discuss the points. Then I thought, let us try something different. So I wrote an anthem out of all the guidelines it carried. Then I called my music teacher and told her to compose it, to give it a good tune so that children can enjoy singing it. So she brought 2 tunes and we selected the best one, and the children were made to sing this, and now it has become a green campus anthem of the school. So that is an innovative way of using the guidelines so that the students understand the deeper meaning and they try to memorize it. And now anybody if visits our school, I think children will be able to sing this green anthem and tell them why our school is called a green campus school. Green campus, we have a green campus program, and there are a lot many things done under it. Now here comes 3C program. This program was initiated by the school, thinking about how to reduce the weight of the bags and how we can introduce the same concept in a better way or effective manner. So we thought, let us start creatively crafted curriculum where teachers have to teach the students for 10 days without books and notebooks, without blackboard. So the teachers were quite enthusiastic about it. They were given 1 month's time to plan the curriculum for those 10 days. And they came out with wonderful activities and a lot of worksheets to, as takeaways, not in the school. And they had thought of lot of to-do, they had gathered lot of teaching aids, they had gathered lot of good videos to show them, but there was no reading and writing at all. So when the program concluded, we took the feedback from the parents, and the parents said, children were full of energy when they were coming back. They were ready to share about every subject because they were more involved, they were more engaged. There was no passive audience, it was all active audience in the class, and they were understanding what was being delivered. And when we asked the students, of course, they would enjoy without books and copies. And about the teachers, they were more than happy because they felt we are empowered now and we can stand on stage and speak volumes about our subject and tell methods and share with other educators how we can teach without books and bag. So this was creatively crafted curriculum. We started whenever the school reopens after a long break, this program is introduced for 10 days. Barter for benevolence. I hope all the schools must be having a lot of books, specimens of the publishers, and at the end of the year we just try to get it picked up, or at times we tell somebody, if you want some books you can. what we thought, let us streamline the process and do it in a manner where we are able to meet a bigger target, or meet a bigger goal. So we thought that we'll align the books class-wise and subject-wise, open it for the teachers, for the students and parents, and let them come and buy the books they want only for ₹10 each book. And the amount which is collected thereafter will be spent on charity, on philanthropism. So the same teachers and students who have bought the maximum books are sent with the toiletries, with the stuff which is required by the people living in the underprivileged section or rural areas, or suburbs. So they were sent in the bus to distribute all the toiletries and the important equipment, first aid equipment, at times planters, whatever they require. So we have already adopted certain areas where regularly we are visiting to meet their requirements. So this way, Barter for Benevolence was a program where we exchanged kindness. We gave the books to the right hands. The people who wanted to really use it, it went to the right hand. And the money which came also gave the material to the right hands, the ones who were actually requiring it. So this was spreading the message. Now, at times, when we meet educators, they say that, the toughest part is the parents do not take any interest. They feel we have already paid the fee. The school has the responsibility of teaching our child. So we need to take them into the loop. We need to tell them, dear parents, if your child transforms and manages to get the Star Gold badge, you will be honored in the annual program. Under this program, every year we are honoring around 75 to 80 parents, and this has really worked well. So the students, when they show little improvements in the classroom, in the behavior, they are given appreciation cards. And after every 3 appreciation cards, they are given a star badge. So they start with a bronze badge. After adding 3 more appreciation cards, they can come to silver badge, and then another 3 appreciation cards means gold badge. And here comes the chance for the parents to be invited and honored. So this is something which has really improved the involvement and engagement of the parents in our school, and we have seen tremendous improvement in the behavior. And the best part is, in the PTMs, parents are more excited to know whether my child is improving, he deserves more appreciation cards, when are you going to give the next one? So that is something which has given way to partnership in the process of learning between parent and the child. Now, most important problem in most of the schools is the student is very weak. He's not as per the level of the class, what to do, how to do, whatever we may do, parents are not satisfied. So there is a better way of doing it. We have coined a formula. This is an acronym, peer fit, where the child who's not performing well, this formula has to be applied by all the educators, which will help them to ensure that they are going the right path and their goal is achieved. And this P stands for parent intimation, where we need to inform the parent that the learning levels are low, but we are working on it and we need your cooperation, and this is the program we are starting. And E stands for encouraging the child. Any effort has to start by encouraging the child that you and me stand together, I am there with you, and we have this goal and target to achieve, and we will surely achieve it together. The next E stands for efforts to be consistent. We cannot make an effort for a month and say, oh, it's not working, let me leave it, let me not waste my energy here. We need to be consistent in our efforts. R is for record keeping. Whatever effort teacher is doing, whether it's worksheets, video sharing, counseling, motivation, acknowledgement, incentives, she has to maintain a record of the same, so that at any point, if it is required to refer for reference, we can always use that. Then comes F, that is follow-up. When a teacher is giving extra efforts or trying to work on a weak child, she has to take the regular follow-up from the parents, from the siblings, from the other teachers, as well as coordinator and counselor, that whether the child is not feeling overburdened or he is not stressed out because of the extra work which I am giving to cover the gap. So the follow-up will really help the teacher to know whether she is on the right track or not. I stands for identifying the improvements and acknowledging them by some incentives. So if a teacher has identified a small improvement, suppose the child was at 2 on 10 and he has got 4 on 10, a teacher need to pat his back and say, well done beta, we will surely achieve higher. This was the first step. I am sure you are going to reach the next step fast. So that is what is important. And then comes T. T stands for technique upgradation. So it's not technology. Teacher needs to revise her techniques. She needs to upgrade herself as an educator. She needs to read more magazines, more Mentor magazine, Teacher magazine, Progressive School magazine, the magazines which are giving you new methods new ways which are working in other parts of the country, educators are sharing. Let us try to learn from them. Let us upgrade our techniques by sharing with our staff members, in the staff rooms. And this is how we can make PeerFit a successful program. Last, teaching beyond school walls. Teachers Day, what do we think of? Immediately we think of, we'll have a party, we'll have a felicitation ceremony, we'll enjoy, students will entertain us, they will try to do something special for us. But if we think of going beyond the school boundaries on that day with a program of teaching the organizations with some special skills where we have not ever visited, or even if we have visited, let's go with the aim of teaching there. So this is what was proposed to the teachers, that let us go to blind school on Teachers Day, Snehalaya, Mother Teresa home, Sorum and old age home. And let us do all these activities over there with them so that we teach them something. Maybe it is do it yourself, maybe rangoli making, storytelling, and comedian act or anything like. So that is something which was quite exciting for the teachers, and they volunteered themselves. The credit goes to the staff members who were so very excited that they nominated their names very generously. And this program really worked well. They went with the students to these organizations to mark the Teachers Day. And thereafter, it has become a tradition of the school. Every Teachers Day, we try to visit these organizations with some new techniques and new teachings. And that, needless to say, they come back with a lot of learnings. So here are some beautiful, how creativity can change the shape of your class. You can always have some discussion cards on bullying, on examination stress, on anxiety, on peer pressure, on drug abuse, and let these cards be discussed very often so that children can learn more about it from each other, and teacher can always be a moderator and she can keep enhancing their knowledge. There can be some positive affirmation bracelets also made for the students, which can remind them that the teacher is thinking for them. She wants the child to be kind. She wants the child to be more disciplined. She wants the child to be more confident. And good bookmarks can be given as a source of motivation. Then comes flip sticks. These sticks, usually what we do, we write the names or the roll numbers on the sticks and we tell that, okay, today roll number 5 will come here and share about, what he has heard in the news yesterday, or how he can elaborate upon the lesson we did yesterday. And then the same roll number comes the next day. So why don't we color it half different colors and let us turn it around. If the 4th roll number has said today, let's turn it upside down so that the green color comes on the top, and I know I have to pick every time the pink side of the stick. So this way creativity can be added in the classrooms. We can tell them to make a consequence chart for their class. If they do this behavior, what should be the consequences of the same? How they can give their repairing action slip to the child whom they have hurt through words or through action or through intention. So they can write, we can make such sheets which are my repairing action sheets, where the child will write the name to whom he is giving, what he is reminding, what repairing action he has done, and what he has learned from this. So the consequences chart can also be prepared with the help of students only. Let us make them bucket fillers. Let them fill compliments, sharing, caring, smiles and happiness in the buckets of every child present in the class. Let us give them some good brain breaks, and we can also give them some stop cards when they are doing something wrong. Please stop what you are doing and make a better choice. A teacher doesn't have to speak about it in front of the class. She may just, while going out, call the child out and give a stop card to the child that, beta, don't do this again. Kindly make a better choice. So STEM bins, Aditya sir is very expert in this. These STEM bin corners can be created in the classes where they can always, the students who are completing their work early finishers, morning work, literacy centers, student incentives. If the child has done something good and has achieved the target, you can send as an incentive to the STEM corner so that he can work over there on some creative project. Maker spaces. So these are the ways in which we can use the STEM bins in the classes, which is again a very creative method of utilizing the students' time. So I would like to thank you all for your patient listening, and would like to say that 3I is what we have to step forward with. I for intent, I for implement, and I for impact. If we have good intentions and we implement it effectively, nobody can stop us from having an impact in our classrooms. And creating mind is waiting for us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aditya sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And actually, I think time-wise, we are kind of out. I have one question, which is there on the thing, and I'll just read out the question. This is from Munish Mathur, I think.
Yeah.
How does 5 minds apply to poorly resourced schools within a society where financial pressures are acute? So, up to the panelists, and I'll allow
So,
others to unmute
Yeah.
themselves.
so may I?
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, no, go
Uh,
ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, actually, if we say that how can we apply curriculum to the schools of the rural areas, see the curriculum is the same. So we have to change our way of delivering it in the class, and that is how we are going to cater to the development of different minds. So if curriculum can travel to all the classes, then methodologies can also travel. So we need to ensure the educators are empowered, they are trained, they are having creative bent of mind, and they are having the dedication and passion to meet the needs of every learner in the class. And then there is no looking back. Thank you.
Yes, Gauri, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just to say, when it's a school is poorly resourced. So I think if one is really creative, money is no barrier. Rather, you don't need money. And I give a continuation of that little project which we did on Bangalore, the partition. So we had an exhibition in the basement of our school. We created a train, which was called the Lahore Amritsar Express. And we made the boys enter through a door, and inside we put our school desks. We brought salwar suits and other things, and we filled them up with pillowcases and clothes, and then drew things like the massacre, like dead bodies inside the train, the massacre. And when they came out on the floor, we drew an India-Pakistan map. And that map, it was just drawn with chalk, and we filled the route almost from Lahore, Shikarpur to Bombay to Bangalore, and we created a path. So our boys walked through the path as if they're refugees walking from the Pakistan to Bangalore, and how they landed up. And then we had one place where we hung up clothes and household things which they left behind. Like, so everyone brought from their houses salwar suits, since many don't wear saris. And then we had vessels and stuff like that. And we put up a board with Sindhi and Punjabi cuisine and sentences. So what happened is we didn't spend money at all. And the only money I remember spending was on getting one cake slice and on fruity for the boys who took part. So, and then we cleaned out everything. It was so environmentally friendly. It was a huge hit because they walked to a refugee train with massacred bodies and that kills boys. And then we walked to the landscape of, like refugees took a journey. So I think without money, a lot of things can be done. As you rightly said, you just got to be very creative about it. So I'm sure this money is not a crunch for many, many things.
Very, very good. 1 minute, sir. The Gauri ma'am has reminded me to share something which we have actually done. We had collaborated with adjoining government schools and sent our students to teach there with wonderful teaching aids. So class 6 students went to teach class 6 student of government school, and we took the difficult topic list from the principal beforehand so that we cater to their needs rather than just trying to, do what we want to do. And that was so very fruitful engagement that they felt like, we want to visit every time there whenever we want to revise our topic. So the students got rid of the phobia of any subject. They were they were having good command. They were having a lot of enthusiasm to meet the classmates of the other school and share the knowledge. They had planned a lot of activities so that they can engage the students of the class, and the response was so very positive from the other school. So if we try to do it passionately from within without any order coming from some office or some organization, let's do it from within. Let there be a collaboration between the private and the government. Haves and have nots, we have to come together and cater to each other's need, and this is for the better benefit, larger benefit of the students, not for trying to blow our trumpet. It's just to make our children more confident, get them the feeling of inclusiveness, and try to help others with what best they can. And thereafter we invited the government school students also to our school to deliver whatever best they can. So it was a very fruitful engagement, and lot can be done if we collaborate together. And Gauri ma'am, great idea, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would also like to share a little bit here that the generation of idea doesn't need any money. And the execution part, if I talk about, I think we Indians are excellent in kabar se jugaad. And we need to understand that a lot of old and waste material can be very, very beautifully utilized to make resources. And our teachers are very good at it, as Monica ma'am has already shown us so many creative ideas which the school is following. I think beautification may require a few things, but idea and concept doesn't require much money. You can also visit the Arvind Gupta site if you want. It has wonderful ideas with all old and toys from trash,
Yeah.
So you can definitely visit that also.
I just wanted to add that the perspective from where Michael is coming from, it might seem that there is a lot of expensive equipment, and definitely VR does cost money. But probably he'll agree also, and Michael, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you might have the best equipment in the world, but it's really the ideas which, which make the experience enriching, rather than just the equipment and the software and things like that.
No, I agree. I agree with that, and I agree with everyone. Obviously, we've used a background of technology to develop the project that we looked at, but the real learning part of the project is that collaboration, that idea of synthesizing the knowledge and bringing that together, and that can be done without any technology. You can develop. You can make a diorama. I mean, you can develop or showcase those concepts in a multitude of different ways. Instead of a video, you have a live presentation. Instead of Minecraft, you have a diorama or even a picture. As long as you're getting together with other students and you're working through it in a collaborative way, and you're showcasing those kinds of learnings in a way that you can use in a 21st century setting, I think that we're doing any kind of a project like that justice. It doesn't need technology in any way whatsoever.
There's one more question on the chat, and then anyone can just put in. We'll close in a few minutes. How do we extend the concept to students who have gone beyond school? The challenge would be to work with people from diverse backgrounds who are already past their school learning.
So I can sort of, we actually have a lot of students who return back to Knox. So we have students that are already at university, and so they actually come back to the school to provide supervision and help to the students within our various co-curricular activities. So that connection between current students and students who are outside of the school still remains. There's a symbiosis between our ex-students and our current students.
Okay, if anyone else has a question, you can unmute yourself and ask anything from the panelists. And if any of the panelists want to share something.
Aditya, if I may.
Yes, please.
Okay, just extending that question which I had asked, that since I primarily work with going students who come from diverse backgrounds, which are both rural and urban, it's always a challenge to try and get them to do something apart from the curriculum. Beating this is a Herculean task that I've been battling with for ages almost now. And while it is slightly easier to get things done with school students, these students are rather grown up, and it is difficult to get them to listen because they have never been in this mode of thinking. How do we tackle this? Because this is very relevant in the Indian context, considering the sheer number of students who would be, involved.
Okay, so I gather you're talking about out of school people who might be adults or late adolescents who might be coming.
I'm talking of college going students. I mean, they're continuing their education, yes, but the mindset for the college is still not there.
Oh, okay.
It's still so curricular that if you really want to get them to do something meaningful, it's very difficult. And getting them to sort of be disciplined and understand it almost seems as if we are past that. And all of them come back to me with regrets after their graduation saying, sir, we should have listened when you were speaking. So that's the sad part of it.
What do you want to say? Yes, ma'am. Gauri, ma'am, you are dealing with 10th graders and
Yeah, I mean, college is another thing, and we find the same thing even in high school. I mean, some of them are least bothered, especially to do with history, because they're not going to take this up as their career at all. So I think, Mr. Samir, it would be a combination of things when they're in college. I haven't taught college level, but I would imagine they're grown-up boys like my own. It incentivize, okay, that would be there. a little bit of carrot and stick where you're threatening and you're doing. But I think if something is done most important, I feel what succeed is having a very, very interesting class. That's the reason why I'm trying to be creative, because they find the subject so boring. They know there's no future for them in it. So college students too would be feeling that way. So to make it interesting, maybe with a little activity or something else or some incentive, that works well. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a 100% solution, but giving incentives, making the class interesting with some activity goes a long way.
Would it be possible to connect with some of you in context of ideas related to this subsequently? Would you be open? Aditya?
Yeah, if you're all open, I can
Sure.
share email contacts.
Sure.
Definitely.
Okay.
And
that
sir,
would be
I
great.
also feel that when children grow up a certain age and they're out of school, if they actually find a purpose why they're doing it, and if they're able to connect with that purpose, if it's the choice of the teacher, I don't think they would be interested. But if it's their choice and they find a purpose, then I think they'll be more likely to get engaged, and that will be a meaningful engagement rather than a force or imposed engagement.
Yes,
At
that's
any
because
level, I feel this is
yeah,
applicable to any level,
yeah, I'm trying to create a strong mentoring system kind of a setup. And in this context, this becomes very relevant. That's why I was asking. Because at their age, I think they need mentors more than teachers. With all the
Yes, very
information going around, they feel they already have enough of it.
yes.
that's where I think the role of flipped role is also very important. Sometimes you become their student and let them, take you over and let them decide the course of event, and you follow them. I think then they'll get more interested. Sometimes I feel we need to flip roles.
Yeah, I
That
think
also
we end up
helps.
learning more from them than they from us.
Very true, sir. Very true.
So there are a couple of questions now, for particularly directed at Michael, about AR and VR as a new medium for learning. And interestingly, how do you tackle the issue of playing a video to students or a game taking over learning? I don't know if that's what the intent is, that would the teacher become redundant, and you just move into give them a technology, and they're happy with it, and they can learn from it directly without intervention from a teacher. Is that feasible, or do you've seen practices like that, Michael? Would you like to respond?
No, as I said in my presentation, I think the need for a teacher is extremely important. I don't think we're trying to place the teacher out in any way. The question about how do we maintain the concept of playing games and so forth. Minecraft is a game. We do, laptop wise, we do have, or we have in place things within the laptops that don't allow the students to play the games. But I think what it really comes down to is the type of activity that you build around it. If you're building an activity around a task that engages them, engages their creativity, engages their knowledge, takes in those 5 different areas that Gardner does talk about, and you build a task that's enjoyable for them, they're not going to be off task. And I think we've found that through the Minecraft task that we put together, we had our students were really engaged because they enjoyed the actual task. There's another question there about how are we incorporating VR and AR. We're actually moving away from Minecraft. We started this last year, but this year we're moving away from using Minecraft as our platform, and we're actually using a new platform called CoSpaces. And CoSpaces allows you to build, again, using code and different elements, but it also has a VR element to it as well. So you can actually walk through your environment on the laptop, or if you've got something as basic as a Google Cardboard and your phone, you can actually walk through your own environment within a VR environment there. So there's lots of ways that we're developing those kinds of methods into the programs that we're using at Knox. But yeah, we're moving over to a different platform and engaging VR into that this year.
Okay, I think we are really out of time, and I apologize for overshooting the time. But thank you so much for listening in, and thank you so much, all panelists, for having shared your experience. I believe it's been enriching for mutually all of us, and also for all the listeners. In case anyone would like to put in a word or something, that's most welcome. Otherwise, we log off.
Just to say thank you. Thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. It was very
Thank
nice.
you very much. And the pleasure is
Thank
all
you.
ours. And we really enjoyed the conversation. Learning from each other was truly great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Wow.
Thanks to the co-panelists because I was the youngest and I learned the most.
You gave a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.